My name is Barry Keegan. I am a comic book creator, a comic book lover, and this movie is about The Running Man and why I feel it would make an amazing sequel as a comic book series. The world of The Running Man is set in a dystopian future where you've got this government who are controlling the people through an organization called the Network. And this organization, they kind of control all of the TV signals, all of the advertisements. So they're kind of pumping propaganda and they're pumping in whatever narrative the government wants. And this network, they have a TV show. It's like the most famous or most popular in the world. It's called The Running Man. And what they do is they send convicted criminals into this game arena, and they have 3 hours to complete, like to get across this kind of harsh landscape. But they're being tracked down by these professional killers. They're called the Stalkers, who have kind of become almost these pop culture icons for I suppose killing all these evil criminals. And in the background you have the resistance, who kind of, they're like hanging out in the slums, because this world is very, reminiscent of like Blade Runner or Akira. You've got these huge skyscrapers, sprawling cities, but then you also have like the slum areas, and that's where all the underprivileged people are hiding out, and where the resistance cells are, who kind of operate and try and take down the network and just pull back kind of control of all those communication satellites and stuff like that. So regarding the characters from the Running Man world, there's loads of really fantastic characters that, they're kind of larger than life, that would work brilliantly in a comic book series. To start with, there's Ben Richards, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. So big muscular dude, just kind of has that heroic look to him. In the movie, he's the reluctant hero. He starts out working for the network. He's like a helicopter pilot, gets sent to prison for refusing to fire on innocent people. Then in prison, he meets, he kind of touches upon the resistance who help him escape, so he gets to see this underground world, but all he wants to do is just leave the country. So he actually resorts to kidnapping a woman who has a travel pass to try and get out. That fails. So he's kind of, maybe there's an edge to the character. And through his time in the Running Man show, you get to see how much of a hero he is. He refuses to kill a defenseless person. He tries to save his friends. When they die, it changes him, and then he decides that I have to be part of this resistance movement, and that brings him on to the end of the movie where he's fully in with the resistance. He wants to help them. He wants to bring down the network and change the world. Amber Mendez is like the character who's in the wrong place at the wrong time. She starts out in the movie as being like the good citizen who works for the network. She actually works in the building where they film The Running Man, and through just bad luck, she comes across Richards, who kidnaps her, and she shows her bravery of raising the alarm to kind of escape that situation, but then later finds out that the network are telling lies about Richards. So she goes and takes it upon herself to do her own investigation. She discovers, what she thought was true, as in Richards is a good person, and she discovers that this is true, but she gets caught in the process, and she gets thrown into the Running Man TV show, where she has to rely on Richards and Weiss and Lachlan. And as they kind of travel through this game arena and are getting hunted by stalkers, Weiss manages to give Amber the codes for the uplink satellite before he dies. So this kind of extra responsibility is entrusted upon her, where she has to take these codes to the resistance, who are hiding out somewhere in the I suppose the realm of where the Running Man show is filmed. And there's just a great progression. By the time she gets there, she's kind of this completely changed character like Ben Richards, and you can see she's fitting in with this resistance, and she's kind of committed to helping them take down the network. And it'd be really interesting to see where her character goes after this. At the very end, her and Richards, obviously there's kind of some romantic element blossoming, but I just think it'd be cool to see her and her role within the resistance, and what way she could kind of help them to, you know, fully kind of change civilization and bring a new, better society. The stalkers in the movie they're all fantastic characters. Like, these would work incredibly well in a comic book series. Now, unfortunately, in the movie, you know, they're all pretty much killed, but I think you could fudge the story a bit and bring some of them back. To start with, you've got Sub-Zero. They call him Professor Sub-Zero in it, so I don't know why. That's a bit kind of wacky, like, but it'd be interesting to explore that. He dresses up in ice hockey gear. He's got this ice hockey stick with a blade on it. He's got these explosive pucks. You know, just really cool armor and stuff that he wears. Like, that would look so well. He ends up getting killed, like, I suppose, choked to death in barbed wire. But it's not clear that he's dead. The network say that he's dead, but, you know, they're kind of pushing their different propaganda and stuff. So I could see in a sequel where he could somehow have been revived, brought back to life, and have a big role in the sequel. Then you've got Buzzsaw, who, you know, visually a great character. He's got this massive chainsaw, you know, just absolutely jacked looking dude who's going around on a motorbike as well. He's got like a really cool looking visor. He just looks absolutely demented, and he unfortunately is definitely dead. Like, you know, I think Ben Richards nearly cuts him in half with his own chainsaw. So, like, yeah, he's definitely not coming back in the sequel, but it would be cool if his someone else would take up the mantle of his look and his weapons. Then there's Dynamo. He's probably the least impressive of the stalkers. Kind of a wacky character. Like, you know, he's introduced where he's like an opera singer. You know, he fires out electricity. His costume just looks cheesy. He drives around in this kind of like vehicle. Just wasn't really that impressive. Got taken out easily enough. And he appears to die by electric shock. But I think you could bring him back. Maybe bring him back as an older character who's, you know, maybe moved up the ranks and works for the network in some other capacity. Like, I just think physically he wasn't cut out to be a stalker. Then there is Fireball, who, like, he looks pure comic book. Like, he's got these kind of like grey lines in his hair. He's like, when I remember when I seen the film first, like, Fireball to me seemed like the guy who would be hardest to kill. He got like this flame retardant suit on. He had a jetpack, a flamethrower. Like, he could take anyone out from a distance. Unfortunately, he gets killed relatively easily, but I see, you know, he could pass down his gear or his tech to an apprentice who maybe in the sequel could come back and, you know, honor his character. Because yeah, it's a great look, the Fireball look. The final stalker, whose name is Captain Freedom, he is introduced into the movie as a kind of retired stalker who, you know, he's almost legendary. He's from an earlier time, and he's an employee of the show. Like, he's kind of like a feature in The Running Man. They go back to the locker room where the stalkers are getting ready, and Captain Freedom will give a commentary on, you know, what's happening and his insights. What's great about this character is that his story is left very open at the end of the movie. You see him change throughout the film as he sees the network playing different tricks, trying to find a way to get rid of Ben Richards, and eventually when all the stalkers are killed, like, Captain Freedom is ordered to go in and take out Ben Richards, but he's given like newer technology. He's given like this high-tech suit which actually looks terrible in the film. Like, it looks like something out of Power Rangers. Like he can't even bend his arms or anything, but he, I suppose, is infuriated because back in the day when he was doing this, he was going in and, as he says, he was killing people with his bare hands. Like, so by the end of the movie, he has completely switched. He refuses to you know, take the orders from the TV station, and he's kind of like dismissed. He's thrown out of the building. So I'd love to see his character in a comic book sequel. Like, he's like this big muscular kind of heroic. He is a heroic looking dude as well, like, and I'd like to see where he goes. Like, I'd imagine he would probably be thrown in prison for what he'd done, and you know, the network would try and twist things and make it out that he is some type of criminal. And it would be interesting to see him maybe, you know, seek out the resistance, hook up with Ben Richards, and you know, help the good guys kind of take down this regime, and you know, bring a better society around. Yeah, that's Captain Freedom. The final character I'm going to talk about is Damon Killian. He is the villain of the movie. He's an incredible villain, actually. He's got so many fantastic lines and interactions with, like, Ben Richards, with Amber, with his backroom staff. You see as the movie plays through that he's very powerful. He's taken phone calls from the Department of Justice, from the Supreme Court. Like, even when he gets desperate, he tries to turn on the charm and, you know, bribe Richards to become a stalker. Like, unfortunately, he doesn't survive the movie. He is killed. Ben Richards sends him back into the arena, the Running Man arena, on one of those one-man roller coasters, which fires him into a Cadre Cola poster, which blows up for no reason. But yeah, it's a pity that he couldn't be brought back in a sequel. But what you could do is you could maybe handpick one of his staff, you know, from some of the characters who are following him around. Some of those could have been almost like the heir to the throne, who learned everything from Damon, and in a sequel they would be the ones to bring the network forward and try and crush the resistance, and you know, just suppress any of the people who are trying to rise up after the I suppose the revelations from the end of the film. So yeah, that's pretty much this video on a comic book sequel of The Running Man. If you are a fan of the movie, just leave a comment and let me know if you'd be interested in buying a comic book and finding out more about the world of The Running Man and what happened after the film. I'd be interested to know if that is something that would interest people. Yeah, if you like the video, share it on the net, or give this a like, or subscribe to the channel. And yeah, thanks for listening, and have a great day.